It's time that fascism is called fascism, and Americans know exactly what they're voting for. And
he is paving the way to become a Vladimir Putin or to become an Adolf Hitler.
We should be clear that he is a threat to democracy.
Damage may be irreversible, the destruction could be unthinkable, and it would be a betrayal of everything that our framers fought for.
Jon Stewart exposes MSNBC for spinning the narrative and playing both sides when it suited them. Trump has been called words like fascists and a threat to democracy by Democrats and the media. Now the media wants to play fair?
Meanwhile, Joe and Mika Brzezinski Scarborough, who famously warned of the growing threat of Trump's fascism, also had an interesting announcement to make.
And for those asking why we would go speak to the president-elect during such fraught times, especially between us, I guess I would ask back, why wouldn't we?
Because you said he was Hitler.
This felt like the media playing both sides. First, they raised alarms about Trump being a danger. Now they made it sound like meeting him was no big deal. This was the same guy they compared to a dictator.
Okay. Tap out. But look, we don't know what the visit was. We don't know what the tone of the visit was.
now we talked about a lot of issues, including abortion, mass deportation, threats of political retribution against political opponents, and media outlets.
Oh, I bet you really laid down the gauntlet, Joe. I bet you walked in there and just let him have it, didn't you, Joey?
Jon also took a jab at the Democrats and how they spin their losses as wins.
And we're proud of the fact that we've defeated more House Republican incumbents than they've defeated House Democratic incumbents.
We did flip 3 House seats from Republican to Democrat and gained back almost all of those that we had lost in 2022.
Yeah, almost is doing a lot of work in that sentence.
They are trying to look at the glass half full when the reality is way worse. It's all about putting a positive spin on something that's actually a setback.
Those are just lowly House Democrats. How will the head of their party, the outgoing president, man the ramparts during this challenging and fraught, peaceful transition to fascism?
President Biden is in Brazil, where he became the first American head of state to visit the Amazon rainforest. He went there to highlight the dangers of climate change and the need to turn away from fossil fuels.
What the
He is sarcastically pointing out how Biden is not doing anything to make the situation better. He went on to explain how the system adds to the problem.
Even those putting up resistance to Trump's agenda don't seem to understand who they're dealing with. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Republicans are playing chess and the Democrats are in the nurse's office because they glued their balls to their thigh.
The imbalance is alarming, and it's no surprise how messy things are.
That is what is happening. The election that we just had was a repudiation of the status quo, an overly regulated system that is no longer responsive or delivering for the needs of the people.
He is calling out how politics is stuck in complicated rules and regulations, showing that the system isn't working for anyone.
Government is theoretically a constitutional system of checks and balances between equally powerful branches. But what government actually is an overly complicated Byzantine bureaucratic maze of rules, loopholes to those rules, and norms.
There are rules to stop people, loopholes to get around them, and norms to cover it up. It's all so messy, like a game where the rules only matter if someone doesn't know how to cheat.
The president nominates, the Senate confirms.
We're a check and balance. We're there to be a guardrail.
The Senate has a constitutional obligation to advise and consent on this nomination.
Unilaterally install his most controversial nominees and bypass the Senate confirmation process entirely.
That is our government in a nutshell.
He is mocking the whole system, calling out how the government's supposed checks and balances. Rules exist, but no one follows them. And it all ends up being about the norms, or whatever people feel like doing.
Republicans exploit the loopholes. Democrats complain about the norms over and over and over, and it has ghastly consequences. Remember when President Obama nominated Merrick Garland to the Supreme Court? Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell refused to give that a vote, saying, well, it's only one full year before the election, it's too close.
He brings up one of the most well-known moments of political gamesmanship. It's crazy how these games are played when the stakes are high, and it's all about who's in control of the rules. When it was Obama making the nomination, it was too close to the election. But when it's someone else, that rule suddenly doesn't matter.
Now, you could make a case that Obama could violate the norm, say the Senate failed their advice and consent, and appoint him anyway, and see whatever the happens. Fight. But they just went, well, we never heard of that rule, but, okay.
He is calling it a missed opportunity. Instead of pushing back and making a strong move, Obama let the Senate take control. He could have ignored them and done what he needed to, but that moment of weakness just made the whole process messier.
Let this show be the utterly ineffective hypocrisy finders. I can tell you from experience, it does nothing. You guys be the loophole guys that figure out how to get shit done, because they don't give a about your norms. They will exploit any loophole, even if they have to go through clearly closed windows to do it.
It is a reality check. He exaggerated for effect, showing how those in power will do anything to get what they want, even if it means bending the rules or the system. It's a clear example of how laws and norms don't matter to the powerful.
You would think after Trump's presidency, Democrats would have learned, but they doubled down. When Biden tried to get immigration reform into the Inflation Reduction Act and the Senate parliamentarian told him he couldn't, did he respond to the rule with a loophole, or did he?
That's for the parliamentarian to decide, though, not for Joe Biden to decide.
He wonders why Biden didn't push back and find a way around it, like the Republicans do. This shows how stuck the Democrats are in the system, following rules even when they are not working.
No! That's for, you take the parliamentarian and you put them in a locker and then you bring Grimace in and have him. That's what you do!
He shows his frustration with the whole process. He also demonstrates how the Democrats seem more focused on following norms than getting results.
To get anything done, the Democrats feel like they must thread the needle to make sure, we have to make sure each norm follows the overly complex bureaucratic process that we created ourselves. The parliamentarian, I can't do it because the norm says, I can't get anything done. Meanwhile, the Republicans come in and all they have to do is finger bang a donut. That's all they have to do.
He is pointing out the big problem. It's not just about political parties, it's about how they handle getting things done. They have built a system so slow and tangled in red tape that nothing ever gets accomplished.
Now Trump has the House, Senate, presidency, and judiciary. So it's going to get harder, not easier. Democrats are going to have to forcefully play the loopholes. But the good news is, you're well set up for it.
Jon Stewart's analogy shows how both sides play the system, with the media making it worse. He also explained how broken the system is and how those in power use it to their advantage.